A lot of what was discussed in the program earlier in the conference with respect to rehabilitation for moderate to severe traumatic brain injury had to do with reviewing the options that are out there for individuals who survive the initial injury, return to the community, return to other long-term care settings, and find themselves in need of additional care beyond the acute period. At least based on some of the comments that we got from the audience after the session, it sounds like neurologists don't find themselves readily aware of some of the rehabilitation options that are available to people with a moderate to severe TBI in the community. And while we can't pretend that these options are available in every city and town across the country, I think it is helpful to be aware that they're out there. One of the places where we've seen a lot of empirical evidence accumulate in the last 10, 20 years is in the area of neurobehavioral interventions. So when I say neurobehavioral, I mean cognitive interventions and other types of interventions for mood and behavior disturbance after a brain injury. So one of the things that isn't entirely intuitive is that although cognitive impairment is one of the hallmark sequelae of a moderate to severe brain injury, and it's quite common with an injury of that severity for a person to have long-standing challenges in attention, memory, executive functioning. One of the things that we see clinically is that it's really the behavioral and the mood disturbance that can at times be the most impairing and have the greatest impact on a person's ability to maintain a job, to maintain a relationship. And so in terms of the neurobehavioral symptoms, I'm talking about things like the inability to regulate one's emotions, having a short fuse, easy agitation, socially inappropriate behavior or commentary. These are the kinds of things that really get in the way of a person's ability to participate in the community. So I talked a little bit about an intervention that has been developed. It's simply an emotional self-regulation training program. And it's one of the many interventions that has been empirically supported over the years. And there's a working group within the American Congress of Rehabilitation Medicine that focuses on cognitive rehabilitation. And they have now published 3 systematic reviews of the literature, each updating the previous review to summarize the neurobehavioral interventions for brain injury that have the best empirical support. And a subgroup of that collaborative group has actually written a cognitive rehabilitation manual. And the goal of that manual is to translate those empirically supported interventions into almost like a step-by-step how to implement this treatment program in your clinical setting. And so since this evidence is out there to support a growing variety of neurobehavioral interventions, we really wanted to encourage people that if they're going to be referring their patients with a moderate to severe brain injury to a clinician who provides cognitive rehabilitation, to encourage or to try to find practitioners that adhere to empirically supported approaches. So that was one of the biggest, I think, messages that we were trying to get out there. And again, these interventions exist for the neurobehavioral symptoms, cognitive symptoms, and other things like sleep disturbance and substance abuse, which is quite common in this population. And effective treatment really does require tailoring interventions that exist in other populations to accommodate some of the cognitive challenges after a brain injury.